No, man, it's my phone. Yes, sir. Flow, flow Wi-Fi, flow hotspot, and line hotspot. Flow hotspot or some hotspot.
Oh, Kiwanians and guests, we apologize for the delay. We lost connection. I think we now have back connection. So give us 1 minute and we will have the guest speaker. We apologize.
Thank you, DP Kingsley, for your introduction. And thank you to President Cargill for having invited me here as the guest speaker for tonight. I asked him not so long ago to confirm that the motto for Kiwanis is "We Build." And he corrected me and said, no, it's serving the children of the world. I was pleasantly surprised. Somehow I missed the update as I was a Circle K back in the day, a long time ago. And I'm very thrilled that the Kiwanis has found it that this is the focus, serving the children of the world, which speaks to everything that I do and all that I am. In an instant, I had to change what I had planned to talk about because having learned that it's serving the children of the world and being Child Month, with a motto being listen up or children's voices matter, I have decided to change focus a little bit to talk about children, what it means to be an effective parent, and how we can better, as a collective, as a society, serve our children. The National Parenting Support Commission is really mandated to implement a policy that, in a nutshell, says that the rights of children must be upheld, that their interests must be promoted, that we are to provide the resources for them as parents, that they should live in environments that are free from harm, so that at the end of it all, they will fulfill their potential. And we do this by building the relationship between the home and the school, understanding that when school and home partner, and when school has the same values that home has, and when there's consensus on what character we're trying to build in our children, then they actually do better and they become better citizens. And so, as your motto says, serving the children of the world, it would be remiss of me not to speak to you about what children really need and how those of us who are involved in parenting need to act in terms of the child's growth and development. Just to say that the commission defines parent broadly. It's not just the person who has given birth. It's not just the person who has adopted a child, but anyone with positive responsibility. In other words, anybody who is widely thought of as having responsibility for the child is considered a parent. When we talk about being effective as parents, we talk about four things. We talk about nurturance, structure, empowerment, and recognition. And we call these the elements of effective parenting. Now, if I were to say, what does nurturance mean? Many of you are going to say, yes, show your child love. And I often say, what does that look like? Because I do believe that we have spent a lot of time talking about how we should be the people, but we spend very little time talking about how we should be loving ourselves and what self-love looks like. And we spend very little time defining what love truly means in the context of parenting. So hugging and kissing a child are important things that we must show our children, but it goes beyond that. One of the things we must recognize is that children are people too. They're individuals on their own. They have personalities, likes, natural propensities, gifts, and they have interests. And a part of self-love, part of love, I beg your pardon, when that is demonstrated, is understanding who children are. And not just understanding who they are, but also accepting that what you see is who they are. Let me explain that. Accepting what you see does not necessarily mean that the things that are bad or where there are deficits in behavior or deficits in terms of their character or deficits in terms of who they are as learners, it doesn't mean that we're not going to do anything about it. But loving a child means when you accept, you are not in denial. You're recognizing who this child is and then providing the atmosphere where that child can develop to become the best version of himself. And that sometimes means putting in supportive structures. If, for example, there is a child who has a disability in terms of his ability to learn, if his attainment levels are below, instead of being in denial and saying that the child would grow it out, or, it's the teacher's fault, accepting what you see and then putting in those measures to treat with those deficits would be a great demonstration of your love for the child. So we think of love in the context of what do we need to do to ensure that our children become the best versions of themselves, that at the end of the day, they can contribute well to society. And so nurturance is a whole list of things. We're talking about nutrition. We're talking about ensuring that our children are attending to their physical needs and attending to their own development with your guidance, understanding who they are at different stages of their development. Because the more they understand what's happening to them as they develop, the better able they're going to be able to adjust and adapt to society. The other thing I want to talk about is the second element is structure. And structure is simply defined as those processes that you put in place that over time become routine that help to promote discipline in a child. The child who is more structured is able to adjust properly to society. The child who is more structured will understand that society in general is based on systems and boundaries, that the way we have organized ourselves in society tells us that there are particular activities we have to perform at particular times throughout the day, and there are particular behaviors that we're asked to demonstrate at particular times of the day. When a child grows up in an environment where there is structure, he understands how to adapt to different circumstances. And what you're developing in the child actually is what I like to call a social register. He will understand what behaviors are appropriate in what context, or she. What we have found is that children who have very little structure at home are exposed to the kind of parenting that we call permissive parenting, where anything goes. A permissive parent is not someone who doesn't love the child, actually. The permissive parent actually loves the child so much that the parent is overindulgent. And the child gets to do anything. He has no understanding of rules. He has no understanding of why a particular activity or a particular requirement is made of him at a particular time, or her at a particular time, because the environment was not created where those boundaries were put in place. Now, if a child is being grown up to do anything he wants at any time, he's going to have a difficulty in society because, as I said, society is ordered or structured in a particular way. So a simple example is a child who grows up having breakfast at any time. Don't know if any time of the day you could call it breakfast anyway, but you get the point. Or there is no time set aside for homework. There's no time set aside for family. He just gets up and do as he pleases. And as strange as it sounds, that is a prevalent type of situation that exists in our society. But the challenge with that is when you go to school, the very teaching and learning process is built on structure and processes. Let's face it. If you do the wrong side of the mathematics first, if you have an addition and you do the wrong side first, you're going to get it incorrect, will you not? So even teaching and learning is structured in a particular way. We're told that at school, there's a time for particular subjects. There's a time to transition to lunch. There's a time when school ends. At church, there's a time for the preaching. There's a time for singing. There's a time for the benediction. There is a time when the bank opens. There's a time to stop at the stoplight. And there's a time to proceed. And we know what happens when people misunderstand what amber means. In Jamaica, I think we interpret that as go as fast as you can before red, but we know differently. The point I'm making is that the people who will have difficulty adjusting to the structures in society, or for the most part, those persons who've been brought up in environments where structure was never part of their upbringing. So the third element now of effective parenting is empowerment. And I look at it two ways. Now, in order for you to do right by your child, as we're trying to serve the children of the world, it is important that you empower yourself. And the best way I know is through gaining knowledge, through understanding, for example, the different ages and stages of behavior and the different ages and stages of development, so that as a parent, your parenting practices can adjust according to the different ages and stages of development of a child. You only get to be effective in parenting when you acquire a lot of knowledge, because one of the things we know is that most persons parent the way they were parented, and that has led us to have some retentive practices that we are very keen on getting rid of. That those are practices we need to leave in the past. The more information you have as a parent, the more you understand your child's needs, the more you read and you're able to make sense of information so you can apply it to your own practices, the better it is you're going to be, the more effective you will be as a parent. But empowerment, as I said, goes two ways. We must empower children. And that comes with practice, because many parents rather feel that they should be in control of everything. And so by being so controlling, they stifle that part of the child's development that allows them to feel empowered. When children are empowered, they're more confident. When children are empowered, they're more likely to succeed. When children are empowered, they have a kind of thirst for information. Now, as a parent, it is also your responsibility to guide your children as to the right information they should be accessing. And even if they were to come in contact with information that is not age appropriate, there should be not penalties, but there should be a kind of posture from the parent that allows an understanding from the child while accessing that information at that particular time might not be the best thing for his or her development. And so empowerment, we look at it as what parents really need to do in order to get their children to be not just the best versions of themselves, but get them enough skills so that when it's their time to find their place in society and contribute to the society's development, they'll have very little difficulty in doing so. And then the final element of effective parenting is recognition. This for me is a big one, because many times if we say we're recognizing what the deficits are with our children, some parents, or most that I've come in contact with, interpret that as a failure on their part. And so many parents find themselves going through periods of denial because they're not recognizing what's happening with their children. It's easier for them to treat with if they pretend that what's happening is not what's happening. But recognition also has to do with the parent understanding where you are in your parenting, what skill sets you have, and what skill sets you don't have, and which you have that you need to sharpen so that you can be more effective. You need to also recognize who your child is as he continues to develop. Recognize his gifts, recognize his natural propensities. A lot of times parents impose their own ambitions on their children and then get disappointed when their children veer from what those expectations are and take on or show an interest in areas that maybe would be better aligned to who they are in terms of the talents God has given them. And parents get disappointed because they had their own dreams of who their child was supposed to be. So recognition is important. You have to look and try to really sit and understand children. Look at what the things that they're interested in and guide them along those paths of interest. We have many persons who are living lives that they're very dissatisfied with because it really wasn't their natural trajectory. It's not what they thought they would have been. And so they end up leading very unhappy lives. They end up leading very unhappy lives. And so recognizing who your children are as learners, recognizing who they are as people, recognizing where their interests lie, recognizing what gifts they have. And the gifts might look very different because you do have children who may be underachieving, but they're gifted. There is a gifted underachiever. A child sometimes in a classroom looks like the one who is giving all the trouble, who looks like something is really wrong, that he cannot acclimate to what the classroom environment dictates. But you realize that that child could very well be bored because the child has some gifts. And in our system, for example, we do quite a bit with the children who show deficits in certain areas of learning, but we have not done as well for children who are gifted. It is no wonder that many of the children leave Jamaica, and even those who are failing, all of a sudden they go overseas and they're on the honor roll, because in those jurisdictions, they have been far ahead in terms of diagnosing and recognizing children who are gifted. So many of the children who show boredom or even look like they're failing are actually children who are very, very talented and very gifted, but they underachieve because we're not recognizing who they are as people and as learners. I'll give you an example. Some years ago, as I was an officer with a special portfolio in education, a child was referred to me who, according to the teachers, she was not reading, and certainly her grades would have concluded that there were some deficits in literacy. And when I met with the child and decided to sit with her and I did my own analysis, I suggested psychological testing for the child because based on the conversations I had and my own probing, I realized that the child was actually very bright. When we finished the tests, we realized that not only was she bright, but she was actually performing 4 grade levels above her current class level. There is a term that we call illiterate in special education. It's a child who can read, but chooses not to read or chooses not to participate in classroom activities because they believe you're dumbing them down. The information is not challenging enough, and they're not motivated by grades. So whether you give a 0 or 100, it's all the same to them. And so that child could underachieve. It is important that parents recognize who children are, but also advocate. So when you know your child that, look, I don't know what you're saying about these grades because at home, I'm telling you, my child knows these things. You have to advocate so that as a system, we're better able to respond. So the fourth element of effective parenting, therefore, is recognition. Recognizing your own deficits as parents, recognizing the things that you need to do to improve your skill sets, and also recognizing for sure who children are, recognizing their likes, their dislikes, and also creating that psychologically safe space where your child can come to you to explain to you what they feel, how they feel, and how they see the world around them, so that you're better able to guide. And a lot of times when I tell parents to listen to their children, I know that many listen with a view to punish after. Because sometimes we play tricks on our children. Oh, tell me everything, tell me. And then we turn around and we curse them. And then we wonder why they're not sharing with us. We have to recognize and we have to empower. We have to provide structure, and certainly we have to nurture. And all of these things combined make for an effective parent. As we look to serve the children of the world, may we all strive to be better as parents. I did define for you that it's not just a biological parent who we describe as a parent. Anybody who has a duty of care or anyone with a responsibility for the child is defined as a parent. And may we all attend to their needs. May we nurture them, recognizing who they are, empowering them, giving them the right tools and skill sets so that they can thrive. And may we also, as parents, seek information, seek the services of the National Parenting Support Commission so that we can all sharpen our skill sets and serve better the children, certainly in our world. Thank you so much for having me. You've been a great audience.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. We'll take questions if persons have questions. I'm seeing, is it GP Layton? Hand is up, but I'm going to read a comment that I saw in the chat. Ms. Carr should be the guest speaker at all Kiwanis meetings. So far, this is 11 out of 10 presentation. Thumbs up. So that's great. Great comment. So yes, Leighton, I'm seeing your hand. You may go ahead with your question, and I'm seeing. Hold on. So I'm seeing PVP mark. So yes, we'll take it. Leighton, then PVP mark. Ms. Carr,
Yeah, good evening.
I recently read a book, The Explosive Child, and I'm convinced Professor Ross Green, you were his main consultant. Madam, you have hit the nail on the head. You have I have attended a Kiwanis meeting and somebody has placed so much emphasis on the motto. You have your holistic approach is unmatched. You're creme de la creme. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very kindly. To God be the glory. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I too will join in the commendation. I think it was clear as it was effective. Pardon me if I sound parochial, but our parents and guardians doing a disservice to the children, and I just said these modern day children, where there is this, I'll describe it in terms of the behavior. Old time people would just say bafan, or where they want everybody to cater to their every fancy, and in terms of their developmental trajectory not being as self-sufficient, that sort of go-getter type of young person as they transition into adulthood. I just want some comments on that on perspective, if you may.
All right. May I just restate to ensure that I'm hearing? Are you asking if parents are doing a disservice to children? Is that in essence the question?
Yes. The question is where might we be going wrong?
Okay. All right. All right. When you look on the parenting landscape, we're seeing that there are many things amiss. There's some missing things. In fact, there is current research in Jamaica that says that ineffective parenting, the research says poor parenting, we tend to say ineffective parenting, is one of the drivers of crime. What we're seeing in certain ecologies, because I have to be careful not to generalize too much, but in certain ecologies, in certain spaces in Jamaica, there's a lot of permissive parenting. Children get up in the mornings and they don't necessarily see anybody in charge. And even if there's someone who is supposed to be in charge in terms of ensuring their well-being, their safety, ensuring they attend to their needs, those persons are not necessarily there. And if they are, those responsibilities are being shirked. So from that standpoint of the permissiveness that we're seeing, that is a general concern. Yes. But we do have the flip, where there are persons on the other extreme who are very authoritarian. So it's my way or the highway, the parent who leads primarily by fear, and who is so strict and so rigid that the children have no space to blossom. They're not understood. There's no recognition of who they are in terms of their interests, their gifts, and all the things I spoke about. And those are the two extreme parenting styles that we actually do not promulgate. One of our recommendations, our recommendation in terms of the most effective parenting style is a parent who is authoritative. So the authoritative parent is the one who takes the responsibility of child rearing very seriously, helps the child to understand the boundaries, why they've been put in place, but also gives the child an opportunity to navigate those boundaries, which would include erring, because there is no growth and development without making errors. The child who understands why a boundary is put in place or why a rule is put in place is more likely to adhere to that rule or boundary, as opposed to the child who is just told what not to do without any explanation or also not told what to do instead. Because I think many parents are great at saying, don't do, but do not teach your children what to do then. So we do have these extremes, and we do have concerns about the permissiveness of parents who the children just do anything they want. There is no regard for boundaries or rules. There's no understanding of social norms. There is a total disregard for the structures and the pillars that hold society together. So in that regard, yes, what are we doing about it? Because I don't want to just stay here and bemoan an issue as the National Parenting Support Commission. We're certainly working very closely at the granular level to ensure that we're empowering parents and we're educating and retooling. This year, we have a target of 121,000 parents who will train in effective parenting through our programs. They're free of cost to everybody. We are not stratum sensitive. It doesn't matter who you are. You can join a parenting seminar or parenting class or come into our programs. We want everybody, because no matter how great you are, there's still information out there that's current that will benefit anyone who wants to be effective in parenting. Thank you for the question, sir.
And thank you for such a thorough answer.
Thank you. Yes. Are there any questions at POC? Any member here have a question that you'd like to ask? Also, any other questions online? Okay, I'm not seeing any hand online. I'm not seeing any indication here at POC. So there's a comment here. Let's see. From Mrs. Charles Lawrence. Just want to say the parents may need to practice commending children when they adhere to the family's guidelines. Yes, noted, certainly. All right. PVP Mark, is that a second hand or is that?
Yes, I'll just be quick. And maybe it was covered before and I missed it. But being that we have such an astute professional in the room, can you share some very tangible steps that parents could take in terms of assisting a child who's a young adult to transition from being the child to an effective functioning adult in the world, the great big world out there, to make that transition? Some tangible things that parents, guardians could do in assisting that transition.
Okay, and Ms. Carr, while you respond to that, there's also a request for you to just shed some light on the work of the Parenting Commission.
Thank you. The entire process of nurturance and growth and development of children is with a view that at some point they're going to transition into adulthood. The entire process is preparing them to take their rightful place as adults. I want to start at maybe age 16, they're about 15, 16, to explain a little bit what happens at that period, and then maybe that will help the parent to understand how he or she needs to posture in order to treat with what presents at about age 15, 16. So at age 15, 16, the prefrontal cortex is exploding with ideas. It's the fastest growth of the brain at that time. And there is really an explosion of ideas. The challenge is that because you're a teenager and there's also hormones and so on, changes in hormones and so on, the child may not understand which of those ideas are good to act on and which ideas he needs to shelve. And so that is why the teenage period can be so tumultuous for a child, because you have an explosion of all kinds of ideas. And by the way, the peers are also having the same kind of growth and the same kind of development. And they are the greatest influence at this time on the child, not the parents. So you have a whole lot of people who are not necessarily thinking through the ideas that are coming to them that they want to explore and act on. Now, in preparing for this, it is important that the parent sits with the child to explain exactly what's happening, but you also have to provide a listening ear to do really active listening where you're able to reframe what the child is saying so he knows that you're listening and understanding so that you can guide. When at 15, 16, teenagers don't want to hear parents saying no to everything. They don't, because they have this impetus to act on the ideas that are coming to them. So it's very important that you listen and then try to guide and then see what ideas they can responsibly explore. That even if they were to be a lesson to learn at the end of it, it wouldn't be too devastating that they will not recover, because sometimes there are mistakes that they're going to have to make. And sometimes, unfortunately, the mistake is what will have them accept even more that this was not necessarily something to explore. What you want to do is sift through so that the ones that they're going to explore would not potentially damage them or thwart or cause their development to be hampered. In terms of an 18-year-old, which is where the definition of child ends at age 18, it is time for parents to begin to relax the rules. An 18-year-old, that's the last year of childhood on the law. And it's time to start relaxing the rules, because you would have nurtured, you'd have been training, you'd have been coaching, you'd have been guiding from birth to 18 years. There has to be an opportunity for the child to now demonstrate to you how well you have done, how effective your parenting has been. Now, an 18-year-old is still a very young person. So even as the child is given opportunities to demonstrate, it doesn't mean that as a parent, you're not going to guide. Because I am so old and I still take guidance from my parents, you know. I don't think that's a job that actually stops. Once a parent, always a parent. So it's not that at age 18, you're not going to be there to guide, but you're going to relax some of the rules so that your child can get an opportunity to start applying what you would have taught and then help them with decision making. And you can only do that if you foster an environment that's psychologically safe, so that your child won't feel bashed or humiliated when they come to you with information, or when he or she comes to you to explain what he or she is going through. So much of that is dependent on the posture of the parent at this time, and how brave, how courageous the parent is going to be to allow the child enough freedom. And I use that word on purpose because much of what parents do is led out of fear. It's not that they want to be bad parents or ineffective, but it's fear of something going wrong or fear of some damage taking place that the child may not be able to recover from. But you have to trust that the children would have been listening to the guidance. You have to trust that the children would have been hearing you, but at the same time, you have to continue to coach. And I will also want to emphasize modeling. It is going to be difficult for you to say one thing and your children see you doing the complete opposite. Those behaviors that you want to inculcate in children that you believe are good and wholesome, parents must be prepared to demonstrate those behaviors. It's difficult to say to a child, for example, I heard a little boy say, that is smoke, but if it's not smoke, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for you to explain to children, for example, if that's the value of the family, don't smoke. And then they see you puffing, whatever it is you're puffing every day, because children learn best through modeling. So as your teenager is exiting the nest, It's important that however you see the citizen that your child is supposed to become, however you see that good citizen is really what you have to demonstrate for your child so he can continue to model those behaviors.
A follow on my last bit for the evening. So
Are you,
what
are
happened?
you, are you a daddy?
I'm not. I'm not.
Oh,
But I will say I raise a lot though.
okay. Oh,
um, so
are you a
what?
parent? Are you a parent then?
I'm sorry.
Are you a parent then?
I provide guidance to lots of young persons.
Okay.
What happened to you were referencing age 18, 19, 20. At that age that they want to be perpetually 16. 1 and 2, where, I mean, where there's this dependency, meaning, I mean, because the great world out there is not easy, and all of us know that. But at the same time, at some point, you have to transition out. You reference the nest. I don't think young people nowadays want to exit the nest any at all. Or there seems to be an increased reluctance. I don't know if it is a new thing. But how if at all does one assist that process along?
I don't know that. Well, that's such a general statement. I don't know that I have data to suggest that children are don't want to leave the nest or staying longer. What I know is that once they go off to college, especially boys, they generally don't want to return home. But that might be your experience. How do we help our children to prepare for the world? I do believe it comes back to love and nurturing. Um, if your child isn't ready, then we really shouldn't oust them, because if they're not prepared to handle the challenges of life, maybe we could assist them to 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 get to a point where they will feel comfortable to go out, because the last thing you want is to shove them out before time, and then they don't have the skill sets to navigate life. As you rightly said, the world is there ready to gobble up anyone who is not ready to handle the challenges that it's going to throw at them. So part of the nurturance process, as I said, once a parent, always a parent. And if my child were not ready to be tossed out of the nest, I don't know that I'd be prepared. I would assist him, however, for that transition, so that when he is ready, he'll be better prepared to handle the situations that life will undoubtedly toss him.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, the work of the commission. All right. So very quickly, the National Parenting Support Commission, as the name suggests, supports parents. We do this through the implementation of a parenting policy that I spoke to. And we have a framework called the Effective Parenting Intervention Framework that houses programs to support parents. We're also a coordinating entity. We do understand that there are determinants of effective parenting. In other words, there are things that impact a parent's ability to parent outside of the fact that they might not have enough knowledge or they might not have been ready. Things like poverty or crime or so on. There are other things that impact a parent's ability to be effective. So we're a coordinating entity. We work with all government agencies and ministries. We work with the international development partners. We work with NGOs. We work with civil society organizations to look to see where the deficits lie and what supports we need to coordinate to ensure that parents can be more effective in practice. And we do this primarily through, we're also very keen on building the homeschool relationship. I spoke to the universal principle, and I believe it still holds, that when school and home partners, then the children perform better, and also their social behaviors improve, because we would have had consensus as to what the attitudes and the character that we want to develop in our children. So we are very concerned with building that relationship between home and school, and we do coordinate all kinds of supports for parents. We also do this through a risk assessment. So we look to see what's going on in this with this parent, what are the needs, and then we coordinate to ensure that they get those kinds of support. So in a nutshell, that's what we do at the commission. Of course, we're always concerned with education because we're an agency of the Ministry of Education. So maybe I should add very quickly that one of the things I'm tasked to do is to take the ministry's policies and demystify what's going on at the Ministry of Education in terms of the national standards curriculum. What are the objectives of the curriculum? What it is that we're trying to achieve? What's the philosophy? We have a concern about numeracy and literacy. So we have programs for early literacy intervention. What we have found is that many parents who come to us with their own deficits in literacy, they actually gain skills and then are better able to help their children at home. So we are concerned too with those core things that the Ministry of Education is established to do, which fall under the ambit of teaching and learning. So we talk about the national standards curriculum and what the objectives are, what the philosophy is, what we're trying to achieve with children. Because when parents understand the policies and the curriculum, etc., they're better able to support their children at home. Just to say that we had launched some helplines when COVID just started in 2020, 37 of them, parent support helplines. And outside of food during the lockdown period initially, the number one call we got on those helplines was about teaching and learning support for children at home. So I know this is an area of interest for parents. They want to know how they can support teaching and learning. They don't understand the curriculum, and we're here to help them with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. You probably know at 12 out of 10. Yes.
15.
Okay, so there goes. Certainly, it was a pleasure having you being our guest speaker, Ms. Carr. You certainly would have seen the reaction and the response from our members, and we thank you for coming this evening. But to do the vote of thanks, I'm going to invite IPP Michael to do so.
Ms. Carr, thank you very much for coming, for visiting our club this evening. And I don't know that, well, this is a very easy task because Leighton already did it. As he said, your presentation is probably the best that he has heard in Kiwanis. Now, it's very fitting that not only in Child Month that you came and spoke to us, but also it's very important as an organization that is for serving the children of the world, that is dedicated to serving the children of the world, that we have these types of presentation, these types of reminders, these types of tidbits. I believe all of us here and also online have learned something this evening. And so we thank you very much, and we look forward to more consultation with your organization and the Kiwanis movement in general, but specifically Kiwanis Club of North St. Andrew. Thank you. And as a token of our appreciation, so that you remember us, and remember that it is the Kiwanis Club of North St. Andrew. We have this.
Thank you again, Ms. Carr. Really appreciate it. I see we have some Kiwanians visiting us from overseas. From Kiwanis Club of Lauderdale Lakes. We welcome you both. Can you, DP Michael and DLG Roxana, just stand for, and so we can acknowledge you, please. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm going to call DP Judith. That we have her gift from about 2 months or 3 months now, and she has finally come to receive it. I was about to give it away. Okay, I'm gonna ask visiting clubs if you have announcements just to put it in the chat and we will read it at the appropriate time. So please go ahead and put your announcement in the chat. I'm gonna call on DP Winston. The members said they don't want any blanket tonight, so please come prepare to, yes.
Thank you very much, President. Good evening, Kiwanians. Good evening to our guest speaker. And first, let me add my commendations to our guest speaker. And why I'm adding my commendations is that PVP Mark, wherever you are, you can stand up. Because of all the information you gave, PVP Mark is able to move from home now and to start his own family. And
Start out live.
for that, he owes the club $500. Make note, President. Right.
The 15 out of 10 is worth every bit of it.
Thank you very much. You can pay $1,000 for the information. And
all right, no problem.
DP Michael, you stand up. Out of order. At this club, we don't make presentations behind the scenes. And you know that. You're the youngest DP, right? And when you were president, all your presentations were made in front. So you give, with it, colleague, but with it, might not remember the members, but you come, you still come. You, with it, how much you give you? Can I never tell him how much you know? No, man, 500. That it can't be the 200 we normally pay. A big breach of NSA protocols. Yeah. DLG Ozzy. Director Damien, you can wake up DLG Ozzy for me, please. You're wide awake. You're from Portland, right? Okay, and you boast that. Yeah, man, I understand that. I've been there a couple of times. And you boast that you're a known gentleman from Portland, right? I am stating a fact. I didn't ask you a question, yeah. Yeah. I didn't ask you a question. All right, you pay 200 and sit down. I said, what was that? No, I stated a fact that you're a well-known gentleman, upstanding citizen of Portland. All right, you just pay 200 and sit down because you come very this evening. And past director Patrick, you stand up. Fellow Kiwanians, Ms. Carr, look what good parenting has done. You pay 200 and sit down. Your parents are good to you. That's why you look so good. Stokey Love, sorry. Kiwanian Seymour Monday, aka Stokey. If you can stand, you can. You stand if you can. If you can't, you just sit. Did you get a receipt when you paid your dues? None at all. None. Zero. Did you get a print from the machine that your card was run on? That's a receipt. So if you okay, Ms. Carr, can you parent him and inform him that whatever notice he gets, it's called a receipt in this day and age? We don't have to write on paper again and give. It comes by your phone. So you never know where you pay for. You pay 200 and sit down because you come here for you think I really that fun. All right, let me see if I can. Larry is still on? Larry, open your mic and say something. Long time when I hear you. And make the baby cry too.
I was hoping you wouldn't have recognized me.
No,
Sarge.
but you know, earlier on I hear the baby crying.
Yes, because I'm at home.
But your baby couldn't cry nowhere else, Larry. So you pay $200 and sit down.
Okay, Sarge.
Past Director Omar. But him do a New Kingston fan with. Past Director Omar, can somebody wake him? Acting Chairman Rashawn. You stand up. You know DP Howard? Huh? DP Howard. You knew that we were having painting on Labor Day? Okay, well, I must tell you, you weren't missed because when we look at Kiwan and Rashawn, we see Howie, a younger Howie. You pay 200 and sit down for that painting job that you did. And DP Mark, you were at the work there, right? Huh? You were there, right? And you painted. Huh? But it was painted, it was a painting work there. All right, paint $200. I give it to okay, not all right, you can paint it another time. DP Kingsley. What's that? Wait, say you were lost, that's why you never reached the project? All right, you paid $200 because I went there almost early and I heard you were on your way. And we left there very late, Mark. And he was still on his way. All right. Well, En route, yeah. En route. Yeah. With it, now because you and Patrick come from the same community of Bush, you collect from him? Right? If you don't collect from him, you have a pay now. All right. With it, you put something. You know, I never looked at the head table. VP, you stand up. Turn around. Mr. Carr, because men don't know color. What color is that? No, that is morning glory. And it's night now, so I don't know why I'm wearing that one. All right, fellow Kiwanians, a male job applicant went into a job center in Jacksonville, Florida, and saw a card advertising for a gynecologist assistant. Interested, he goes to learn more. Can you give me some more details? He asked the clerk. The clerk pulls up a file and reads out all he needs to do or what the job entails. And it's, in a nutshell, is preparing the lady for the examination. And she further says their annual salary is $65,000, but you are going to have to go to Oxford, Mississippi. That's about 620 miles from here. He said, oh, okay. Is that where the job is? The clerk responded, no, sir. That's where the end of the line is.
All right. You have big mouth in campaign. So 500.
1,000.
I was going to charge 1,000, but I give him 50% discount. So DP Howen, please to make sure that DP Winston pays 500. I know we need some translators for that, for the joke. Okay, we're gonna now take the 50-50. I'm seeing one announcement. NSA members, if you have your announcement, prepare to do so. I'm gonna ask Ms. Carr to draw the 50-50 for us. So DP Howard will win this direct courtesy of the National Parenting Support Commission. So Ms. Carr, can you present? What is you going to write? Thank you. So the announcement, I'm seeing one in the chat from President Camille, Kiwanis Club of Constant Spring, their kitchen, the kitchen of KCCS, June 3, for online purchase for 2 homes and a shelter. Please see link below. So the link is in the chat to purchase your ticket.
Pres, if I may, I have 3 announcements.
Okay, so this one announcement from our visiting clubs. Before you come, that's PD.
Yes, Pres. Yes, Chris.
Okay, so let me just say to the members and everyone listening that tomorrow our 48th anniversary supplement, Child Month supplement, will be published in the Jamaica Observer. So please get your Jamaica Observer tomorrow for our 48th anniversary Child Month supplement. PD Derek, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Just to announce that we continue the sale of our raffle tickets, which this raffle is hosted by the Division 23 West, and the club benefits by earning money from each ticket that is sold. We still have a few tickets left, a few booklets that is, and each ticket is $500, and the booklets contain 20 tickets. So I still have a few, so persons are really, really encouraged to reach out and indicate if you'll be willing to sell a couple of these booklets. Thanks. And the next one is our play night. At the last check, I do believe we are close to exhausting all the tickets that we had, all 105 tickets. There are still a few tickets left, so if you're interested, our play night takes place on the 22nd of June at the Little Theatre, where we'll be showing the current running play, Hide Your Husband. Support this worthy cause. It goes towards all our charities that we look after, the school feeding program, towards Meals on Wheels, towards Matthew 25-40. So do come out and support our play night and as well as our raffle. And the third and final one is for the Roy Pennant Meals on Wheels. Takes place every last Sunday. And for this one, we encourage members to support in whichever way you can, either by helping to prepare the meals, or helping to distribute the meals, or just purchasing a couple meals for somebody who really needs it. So it's on for this Sunday, 29th of May, and our usual start time at 2 o'clock in Jonestown will obtain just the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PD Derek. Just for some more information from Constant Springs Kitchen of KCCS, the cost for the ticket, fried chicken, 2,200 or 18 US. Steamed chicken, the same amount. Brown stew, same. For shrimp, 2,400 or 20 US. For chicken and pork, it's 1,500 or 15 US. No, steamed fish. Oh, fried chicken. No, fried fish and steamed fish, 2,200. Brown stew fish, 2,200 or 18 US. And shrimp, 2,400 or 20 US. And chicken and pork, I would assume it's chicken or pork, because I don't know they will be giving you both. 1,500 or 15 US. Just to let the members know that coming June, our board meetings will be face to face. Our first host for June, Treasurer Ozzy Lee, directors Kenton and Mark. So they will let us know where the board meeting will be, and that will be June 7th. So our board meetings will now be face to face come June 7th. Treasurer Ozzy Lee, directors Kenton and Mark are the host. So you let us know where the board meeting will be for June. On the 7th of June. Yes. Okay, so we'll communicate that. So okay, at the annex. The usual host will take care of. Come June 7th, Treasurer Ozzy and Director Mark and Director Kenton will change that for us. Thank you so much, Treasurer DLG Ozzy. Thank you. Monday will be at Matthew 25:40, the usual time, 10:30 a.m. Members are encouraged to join us at Matthew 25:40 Boys Home for our usual mentorship program. Any other chairman has an announcement? Right, I don't think so. We are coming down to the end. I'm going to invite our distinguished President Howard to do the benediction, but I will help to do the thought for the week, and DP Howard will do the benediction. It's on your screen. It will not be to go to Africa for the purpose of exercising an overlordship over the natives, but it shall be the purpose of the UNIA to have established in Africa that brotherly cooperation which will make the interests of the African native and the American and West Indian one and the same. That is to say, we shall enter into a common partnership to build up Africa in the interest of our race. Marcus Messiah Garvey. Benediction. I invite you all to stand.
Let us pray. Father God, we give you thanks for a successful meeting. We pray your blessings on all the projects we'll be doing for the coming week. And Father, we ask that you will keep us safe until we meet again. These are the blessings we ask in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, DP Howard. I should have thanked the community service committee for the awesome work that was done over the weekend. We painted 3 pedestrian crosswalks, 3 crosswalks, 2 on Marasca Road and 1 on Cornelly Road. So the children at Wolmer's Prep, Wolmer's Girls, Wolmer's Boys, and Michael University College would have all benefited from the work that we did. Yes, let's give a round of applause from that. We did get certainly appreciation from Wolmer's Prep. They extended gratitude to the men of Kiwanis Club of North St. Andrew and the National Works Agency. Also, we were at the SOS Children's Village on Monday, Labor Day, and also the staff and management has communicated their appreciation to the men of the Kiwanis Club of North St. Andrew. We had a good work day at SOS. I believe we had about 50 persons participating in the work day. So that was really good. Give another round of applause for the work. Great. Thank you all for attending. Please come again. We look forward to engaging our members and visitors, guests. Thanks to our prospects. And thank you very much to our guest speaker who did 15 out of 10 presentation today. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of North St. Andrew is now terminated. Have a good night, everyone.
No, that's a big, that's a credit. Yeah. But guess what? I think at the end of this, you think so? Because even when our members start coming to meeting, you're going to have interview because we're the only group right now that's meeting. Everybody is meeting. We're still meeting very well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like somebody asked me the other day about asked me about the measures that, or the fact that the numbers are going up. The COVID numbers are rising. Everything is going a lot. And I said, I would be very disappointed if we have a lot. Because the fact is, we have to live with it. And one of the things that I'm not sure how many persons take ignore. That the strains, yes, the strains are coming and are probably more infectious than before, but they're doing less harm. Less people are being affected, are being affected negatively. So even from that perspective, it's not something for us to be overly concerned with, because just like the common flu that we have been learning to live with, look at dengue and all of these things. They come and they're highly infectious, but we just know that, all right, we need to control the mosquitoes, we need to know whatever it is that we need to do, we do that when time comes. But we just need to do the things that we need to do here to protect ourselves. Yeah. So how long are you here about this time? I'm gonna go come on. No, it's already it. Yeah, I thought it was one of the Richmond houses. Yeah, oh, the new side. Yeah. Okay. Press. Represent. Yeah, so you're not running away. You're joining us at the bar, right? As we go to the bar after. Definitely joining you. In-person meetings since COVID. Yeah, you're right. Well, like I said, we are on the club meeting in person. Oh, still have somebody trying to meet you? Then should be. But I don't know if he's paying attention. I'm Sean. This summer is good. Come on. A young Joanna, who I'm sure very soon will be taking some.
I'm going to have to join on the phone because I can't. Let me join. See if I can get on. Yeah. People still, but the thing is, nobody's saying anything. From here.